Hello, Professor or TA grading this or watching this. One, thank you for this opportunity of extra credit. Two, I'm going to try and make this as not boring for whoever's watching this. I do get some facts wrong later on in the video whenever I'm reciting facts from memory, but I'm going to pop in with a little voiceover in an article to correct it. So if you're like, wow, that's really wrong, hopefully I pop in with a little voiceover in an article screenshot. But anyways, here's my video. Hope you like it. Anyways, bye. Enjoy it. Hello, Professor. This is my extra credit video for Senate Bill 1120 or 1120. And section 1 is going to be just me explaining kind of what the bill does. Second section is going to be potential costs and benefits. And third section is my argument for the bill. Senate Bill 1120 is not an original bill. It is an amendment to Texas Penal Code 56A, which is basically just victims' rights. The first thing that it does is define what family violence means. It provides clarity and solid definition when prosecuting these offenders that commit any type of family violence, whether that's sexual assault, aggravated assault, stalking against someone where you have a domestic or familial relationship with that person, and it also just provides consistency in the legal system. Furthermore, this bill also defines what a victim is. So it is basically just individuals who have experienced some sort of harm from crimes like stalking, violations of protective orders, like restraining orders. And it ensures that these individuals are protected and given their necessary rights of being alerted of where these people live, if they're near them, if they are out on bail, if they are still in jail, when they are being released from jail. And furthermore, and added to this, they are now allowed to have a say in or at least provide their opinion and thoughts on initiating a plea bargain. And it also extends these rights to the close relatives of deceased victims, and also for victims that are underage to their guardians. It just kind of protects them more and ensures fairness in the legal system of making everybody aware of what is going on. And it also just ensures that all voices are heard of those that have been severely affected in these situations. And overall, just provides a more solid and consistent framework of victim protection within the Texas legal system, and also providing solid definitions so that whenever we are prosecuting, it makes it more clear to everybody, the jury, the offender, the victim, etc., of what these people are defined as. Furthermore, this also provides more of the rehabilitation approach whenever releasing an offender happens. Defendants who have committed violence, they require them to complete a battering intervention and prevention program. And this is any offense where the defendant is charged while being released on parole. Regularly, it would only be the ability to have a victim impact statement would only be for assault and sexual assault, but now it is assault, aggravated assault, or sexual assault of someone who is younger than 17 years of age, and regarding family violence, of course. And the court has to consider the impact on the victim, These victims also have the right to any evidence that was collected during the investigation of the offense, unless it interferes with an ongoing investigation or prosecution of aforementioned offense. And they have to provide a date. The authorities have to provide a date when they will receive that. And this extends
This is Future Ainsley
to
popping
rape
in. It
kits.
was
And
300,000 to
this goes
400,000. I got a
into my
little
next
ahead of myself,
section
and I
of
fact checked,
the
and I
effects and
was
costs.
100,000 over. So that's my bad.
Everywhere in the
Back to your
United
show.
States, there is a very large backlog of rape kits. A lot of times, these police departments or cities or even states do not have the money to test a singular rape kit. They can cost anywhere from $500 to $1,500, depending on what jurisdiction it's in and being tested in, just for one rape kit. In total, in the US, it is upwards of 500,000 rape kits that are untested. But we also have to think about the effect on the victims. These victims are, after their assault, they have gotten the courage to get a rape kit done and report it to the police. And once that it has finally happened, it's never tested and barely investigated. And they're not really given the time of day. For the better intervention program that happens with parolees that are out on something related to family violence, these courses per hour and a half class can range anywhere from $25 to $50. But as I previously mentioned with the rape kits, this prevents even more legal fees, prosecution fees, etc., for both sides. And it is also more of a pay-as-you-go type thing, so you can stop whenever you want or whenever it is deemed that they are not violent to their family anymore. One more thing included in this amendment is just further extending victim advocates to victims themselves and making these resources aware to victims, and that these resources are available for them to heal and deal with what they are dealing with, whether that be aggravated assault, sexual assault, robbery, etc., making these resources available to them. But of course, these resources are people most of the time, and they are paid. Although these people are on a salary and employed by the state, it is not by a per session cost unless it is specialized therapy sessions. One of the largest benefits, in my opinion, is the outlining of definition of what family violence is and what offenses are included in that definition, because it provides clarity to the victims of what they have gone through. Sometimes it's very hard to put a name to something, but whenever a defender is convicted of something that is qualified as family violence, it gives them that very solid conclusion that, like, oh, this is what I went through and this is how I can heal from it. Here are exact resources for it, etc. While there are very high costs with testing rape kits, providing resources for both the offender and the victim, overall it will create a lower recidivism rate and help both sides recover from the defendant and what the defendant has done to them. While this bill has already been passed, I am arguing for this bill, not only because I'm a victim studies major, I'm also a human, and I have empathy and care for people, and I want people to get the help that they need, whether they are evil, in my opinion, or not. Arguing for the victim. Victims deserve to know where their perpetrators are, and they also deserve to live in a place safely with a clear mind that
I was
their
wrong
perpetrator
again.
will not
I'm
go
fact
after
checking
them once
as
they
I
are
should.
on parole
Of
or
post-release
out of
homicides
jail or
of a
once
sample pool of 126,
has expired.
13.5% of them were
Within this
related to
bill,
intimate partner
these
violence.
perpetrators cannot
Mostly
go
related to
near
a female victim.
the
So,
victim ever.
was I right?
Which
No.
is
Is it still slightly common?
very
yes.
big
Is it the
problem that
majority?
happens.
No. Anyways, back to your
These perpetrators will
regularly
sit in
scheduled
jail and they'll be like,
programming.
"Ugh, they put me here. I'm going to get my revenge." They'll get out and they'll kill them. And it is extremely common. Here are the stats. And it is a very sad reality that while it's not all, the majority of these victims are usually women. And these women and men live in fear of their perpetrators coming after them for the rest of their lives if there is not lawful protection to give them peace of mind. While they will have paranoia and they will have PTSD and they will have remaining effects from the incident that they went through from their perpetrator, they at least have lawful protections for them. And it also provides more barriers that the perpetrator has to go through to get to them. Specifically with plea bargains, it has been a big issue in the past where at first the prosecutor tells these families, like, yeah, we're going to get this guy in jail for 50 years. And then he gets out with 120 hours of community service and going through a class, and that's it. It actually, although this is not Texas, it recently happened in, I think, I forgot where. I'll look it up and then put it here. Here's the article. Wow, amazing editing. Thank you. Where this 18-year-old boy had many abusive relationships, raped 3 girls in total, and caused a brain bleed and almost killed one of the girls. He should have been charged for aggravated murder, but attempted murder, but that's besides the point. And he was let out on community service and classes, and that's it. Once again, I was running my mouth and spreading misinformation. So he was never technically in jail. He was just arrested, brought to the station, brought back. It was, as it says here, 78-year sentence originally. And then the prosecutor gave a plea deal, and now he's not going to face jail time, and he has to do community service for traumatizing 3 girls for the rest of their lives and ruining their perception of relationships and love and what a healthy and happy relationship looks like. And they have a higher chance of experiencing that again due to just statistics in general. As I have learned in my victimology class, if you experience one victimization, you are much more likely to experience another. Why that is, we don't know, but there are many theories on it. Anyways, for the rehabilitation of the offender also once again goes back to the victim. If an offender realizes what they have done, how they have affected the community around them, and specifically the victim, and what they have done to them, how it's going to affect the victim for the rest of their life, how it's going to be a stain on the offender's record for the rest of their life, and they learn why they did what they did, what led to it, how to stop the triggers that caused it, and how to recognize when those triggers are happening and to remove themselves from those situations or have coping skills to help with that. And when you don't have that, which is extremely common, of course, because you need therapy and resources that many people either don't know about or have the money for or they can't afford. So when these people don't have these resources, or they're not even aware that they're exhibiting abusive behavior, sometimes, and it's very common in sexual abuse, and this is not an excuse whatsoever, just an explanation of why it sometimes happens. Sexual abuse happens a lot because it is learned behavior, specifically with women who sexually assault other people in general. It is almost always learned behavior. And that goes for, specifically for women, for pretty much every single crime. It is always due to an unstable family home and learned behavior. And so when you don't provide these resources, it happens again and again and again, and it becomes a cycle of abuse or offending. And there are life cycle offenders, which is for their entire lives, they're in and out of the system, or there are those that only do it in their juvenile youth. But outside of that, there really aren't any more typologies for offenders. It's either you do it in your youth and you're done, or you do it for the rest of your life and you never get out. While Texas has already started working on its backlog of rape kits, there are 500,000, as of 2013, 500,000 backlogged rape kits within the US. 20,000 of those are within the state of Texas. And that was in 2013, and now we are down to 3,123. But I want you to think of these kits, don't think of them as a kit, think of them as one traumatizing experience. 3,123 individuals were forced to have sex against their will, whether they were drugged, gun held to their head, coercion, etc., to the point where they were inseminated inside of by this offender, and they have to go through this very clinical procedure that's even more traumatizes them. They have to do a swab inside of wherever they were inseminated in, and then they have to get some of their hair pulled out because they have to get their DNA tested. They have to get their clothes tested. They have to get their picture taken of. And it almost feels like you're going through it again because you're being touched not without your consent, but you don't really want to do that. And then a lot of these nurses are not very empathetic whenever it comes to rape kits. A lot of them are, but a lot of them aren't too. And so you go through all of this, and then it just sits in a box, and nothing is done about it. And sometimes your perpetrator is still out there, and it's also not always a stranger. Sometimes, most of the time, it's someone you know. 90% of the time, it is someone that you know that rapes you. And it is a horrifying experience to go through. And then it's someone that you care about or love or trust that you spend your time with, whether it be a familial figure, a friend, an acquaintance, someone at a party that you know. It doesn't matter. But whenever this happens to these victims, they have a right to know where these perpetrators are, especially if it's someone within their family, whether it be their uncle, their cousin, their father, their mother, their brother, their sister. They have a right to be removed from that environment and have a stable and healthy life after their traumatization, and be given adequate resources to heal from that, and their offenders be given adequate resources to stop their offending and to stay far, far away from their victim.